What is up, guys? It is the Bluebloods here, and then we got probably one of the most hype previews that we were going to do. I know a lot of people have been waiting on this. We had a lot of games that were on Thursday, Friday, and early Saturday that we had to cover. This game's on a Sunday, so it fell on this Friday. So we dropped it. We made it the first preview of Friday, though, because I know so many people are interested in this game. We got Jackson State, FAMU, or Florida A&M. If you're not familiar with that, we got the Orange Blossom Classic, and it's at 2 p.m. Central Time on ESPN2 this Sunday. And you look at, I had a tough time. Some bookie, or I can't say bookie, some sites don't have a point spread for this game, but I found on the Action Network, FAMU is a 7-point favorite over Jackson State. Currently, that's the only spread I could find. So you can check DraftKings or someone like that later. But for me, this is easily probably the biggest FCS game of the weekend as the Jackson State Tigers meet the Florida A&M Rattlers down in Miami. It's a classic. The storylines are endless, and this is a matchup of new SWAC division rivals, and it could go a long way in determining who comes out of that East division in the SWAC this year. When you look at Jackson State, coming off a 4-3 season in Shedeur Sanders' first season as the head coach, they're going to have probably a starter at almost every position. I mean, when you look at that team, outside of, Nugget at corner, outside of some of the linebackers, really and truly, a lot of the players are going to be new. It's a new look Jackson State team. And then you also have the hyped, one of the most anticipated debuts of the weekend, and Shedeur Sanders taking the QB1 snaps for Jackson State. And on the flip side, Florida A&M is going to take the field as a member of the SWAC for the first time this weekend down in Miami. Willie Simmons is going to have a new quarterback in Rashawn McKay, most likely. That's every report I could find is McKay has been taking most of the first team snaps, but they are prepared to play two quarterbacks, but expect McKay to take those first snaps. He takes over for Ryan Stanley, who graduated, who's been a longtime FAMU quarterback, and they're going to be looking to make a huge statement this weekend in Miami, pulling off a big win over Jackson State. I want to start with the keys for Jackson State, though. These are usually how my breakdowns go for any game preview we do. We got to get the keys for each game. The key for Jackson State, I don't know how many of you guys watched our Ohio State Minnesota preview, which the game was last night, was Thursday night. The key for Jackson State is simple, because the game plan should be simple. It's protect Shedeur Sanders. That offensive line has to be much improved from last year. And it's just let Sanders distribute to the playmakers on the outside. If you're Sanders, all you need to do is get the ball to your wide receivers on the outside. I mean, for me, I think it's a recipe for disaster, especially in a probably hostile environment down in Miami where FAMU is probably going to have the advantage of fans. In his first game, it would be a disaster if the O-line doesn't take a step forward, and or if the game plan gets too complex, they take too many deep shots early. I don't think they need to do anything special if they're Jackson State. All you have to do is get a few quick, easy, confidence-building passes early and get this offense rolling. You don't have to try to take the top off the defense or do anything crazy or come out with a hyper complex game plan. All you need to do is know you got the athletes on the outside and just let your quarterback distribute the ball to them. All he needs to be, and I said this in our Ohio State preview for CJ Stroud, he just needs to be Rajon Rondo. Get the ball to the playmakers. We don't need you to score. We don't need you to score 40 points. All we need you to do is get some assists and let those playmakers outside go make the plays. And what it could do too, and I know some Jackson State fans are like, want Shedeur to prove himself, and I've heard the game manager thing. Game managers win games most of the time, especially when in a game like this where you're going to have the athletes on the outside to go make the plays. We don't need you to go throw for 400 yards. All you need to do is get it to your wide receivers and let them go do what they do. And when you look at this wide receiving room, there's this mix of deadly, explosive, high potential guys. I mean, Shane Hooks, Josh Lanier, Keith Corbin, Warren Newman, Malachi Weidman. Those are going to be some of the top options in the passing game. And the good thing is they all bring unique skill sets where I don't think they're going to step on each other's toes much. Just get the ball into these guys' hands and let them make plays. The recipe is so simple. We don't need Shedeur to go out there and look like Patrick Mahomes. All we got to do, avoid the turnovers, the offensive line keep his jersey clean, and if he's just accurate and gets the ball to his playmakers, Jackson State has a real good chance to win the game. I'm not gonna, I know some channels might come on here and say, oh, he's got to do this, this, and this. Just don't turn the ball over. That's the number one thing for me for Jackson State is do not give FAMU extra possessions. If you keep giving them extra possessions, you keep putting your defense in bad situations and keeping them on the field, it could be a real bad recipe for you guys this weekend if that happens. And I understand the offensive line has been retooled, but I want to see how this chemistry works. Listen, it happens everywhere, even at Alabama, Clemson. It doesn't matter how highly rated your guys are. The key for the offensive line, as someone who played O-line, is chemistry. You have to have chemistry all across the line. The more snaps you play together, the better. And for me, early, I want to see how that chemistry gets established. Dylan Spencer, Tony Gray, two of the biggest transfers they landed on this offensive line, both came in from the FBS. I believe Gray came from UCF, and I believe Dylan Spencer came from Missouri, if I'm correct. The O-line in the spring had such a tough time, and I know there's a lot of new faces, but that was really the key to why Jackson State could compete with some of the better teams in the SWAC. It hurt the run game, and it put the quarterback, whether it was Quincy Casey or Jalen Jones, in a real tough position to succeed in some of those big games. Down the stretch, the O-line allowed 13 sacks in 3 games. That cannot happen. You have to keep Shedeur clean. You have to keep them calm in the pocket, because what you see too many times with young quarterbacks is their first 2 or 3 starts. If you go out there and they're under pressure, that internal clock starts clicking a lot faster. And even when you're not under pressure, they bail in the pocket too soon. They start sailing their deep balls. They miss short intermediate passes. Can't have that happen with Shedeur. You want him to be comfortable in the pocket. You want to establish that pocket presence that's going to carry you throughout the season. I've seen it happen with Bo Nix at Auburn. I've seen it happen with so many quarterbacks across the country where that internal clock gets ticking too fast and they can't snap out of it, and it really hurts their performances down the stretch of the season. For FAMU, though, the key for FAMU is a bit more complicated, because part of me could make the argument that due to Rashawn McKay stepping into this QB1 role, you just want to keep it simple for him too. Get it to Xavier Smith on the outside. Get it to your playmakers. But for me, looking at, more than just, the youth, the inexperience at quarterback, not the youth because he's a 4-year guy, but the inexperience at quarterback, you have to establish the run game. The running game is the biggest thing for FAMU, in my opinion, this weekend, because I know they got the athletes on the outside. Rashawn McKay, the FAMU fans think he is great and that he can do big things. But for me, when you look at this Jackson State defense and what a lot of people are projecting for Jackson State, you're going to have to be able to run the ball to beat them. Shane Tucker's the new running backs coach down there at FAMU, and all the fall camp reports love what's coming out of this running back room. They have a lot of experience. You look at Bishop Bonnet, who's the senior leader of this unit, was their leading rusher in 2019 and only got another year of eligibility due to COVID. And Terrell Jennings is also back, led the Rattlers in rushing touchdowns in 2019. So that's a good thing to have when you have your leading rushing touchdowns guy and rushing yards back. You got your 2 best running backs back into the running back room. The problem in 2019, though, for the Rattlers running game was consistency. There were games where they did some great things on the ground, but then others fell very, very short and really fell on Stanley to kind of carry the offense and make some forced plays through the air. And, when you can't establish the run, the defense doesn't have to be honest. They can just play covers. They know they don't have to load the box. With Jackson State's D-line, they brought in so much talent on that D-line. They got all these FBS transfers that everyone's been hyping all year. You still have to establish the line of scrimmage. If they live up to the hype and you get shut down completely, I'm not sure if Rashawn McKay can carry this team against the defense of this caliber. I mean, FAMU ranked 9th in the MEAC in 2019 in rushing yards per game with only about 100. You are going to have to rush for more than 100 yards. I want to see one of these running backs hit 100 yards themselves is how important this rushing game is to me. This team the reason I picked this, FAMU has to win the time of possession battle. You cannot have your defense on the field consistently where they get tired and worn out down the stretch, because that's where Jackson State's going to thrive. You want to control the pace of the game. FAMU needs to make this their game. If you let Jackson State establish the tempo of this game, it could get out of hand. And then also, you need to extend drives. Even if you don't score, if it's just quick 3-and-outs, your defense is going to be put in a very tough position, because they're going to be on the field a lot. They're going to be pressed a lot. And then down the stretch, you're going to start seeing fatigue. And we've seen such great defenses fall victim to the offense sputtering early. So you have to establish the run and be able to extend drives. Get yourself into third and manageables are the biggest thing for FAMU. If FAMU finds themselves in a lot of 3rd and 9s, 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 10s, 3rd and 11s, FAMU is not going to win this game. You have to get into those 3rd and 1s, 3rd and 2s, 3rd and 3s, and that's where they're going to make their money against this Jackson State team. This Jackson State defense, guys, is stout. I've been critical in the offseason of all the hype some of these transfers have gotten. I am most confident in the secondary of Jackson State. I am also very confident in some of the defensive guys that they've landed compared to some of the offensive talent they've brought in. The Jackson State defense is going to be one of the tougher defenses FAMU sees all year. And what FAMU needs to do is wear them down. Get them into the fourth quarter where they're like, man, we've been out here for 70, 80, 90 plays, and now what are we going to do? We're going to find out how deep they are. It's week 1. Everyone has that all-season rust. That's why FAMU has to establish the rushing game. And also, you don't want to put McKay in a situation where he has to carry this entire offense against probably one of the best secondaries they're going to face. You don't want him to have to carry it against Nugget and Shiloh and CJ Holmes and all those guys. You want the run game to keep that defense honest, get you in favorable matchups on the outside, and be able to run your offense how you want and keep this Jackson State defense off guard and out of a rhythm. If you let this Jackson State defense get in a rhythm, get that momentum up, it could be a long day. And you just want to keep them off balance. So the run game for me is the key for FAMU, even though it was one of their weaknesses in 2019. They have experience. Their O-line brought in some promising transfers as well. So I think that FAMU run game is going to be my key for them. And the matchup to watch for me is easy. This was the easiest thing that I was, researching. I was like, I knew exactly what I was going to pick. It's the Jackson State wide receivers versus one of the best secondaries in the SWAC in FAMU. It's the FAMU DBs versus the wide receivers of Jackson State. When you look at FAMU's roster, the secondary is by far the biggest strength on this team. They probably had the best safety duo in the FCS. I mean, the entire FCS, when you get Markquese Bell and Antoine Collier from UCF. Both of them have combined for multiple All-American awards. Both of them could be watch lists for the Buck Buchanan Award at the end of the year. But for me, we know those guys are going to show up, and they're going to make an impact. The real matchup for me comes on the outside. What is Eric Smith going to do at cornerback? And there's some question marks on who's going to be the main guys there. I know BJ Bowler and also Traquan Butler have had outstanding spring and fall camps. Who's going to be that second guy on the outside that has to be in that one-on-one coverage and has to go out there and make the plays and force a young quarterback like Shedeur into mistakes? If this FAMU secondary is not able to capitalize on a young quarterback, then it's going to be a long day for them. And they have to make sure they play some of their best coverage football, because if you let these wide receivers get loose, Jackson State opens up that pass game, and then they can come in later and establish the run game to wear you down to close the game out. It's going to be a recipe for disaster for FAMU. So the cornerbacks, especially in the secondary for FAMU, has to step up. And I mean, we've already highlighted the Jackson State receiving corps on this show, but I want to see who claims their spot at the top wide receiver. Who is Shedeur going to trust in the most important moments? Last year, for me, it was pretty clear who was the number one. Dalen Baldwin was the number one wide receiver for that offense. Corey Reed was the number 2. Corey Reed isn't on the roster anymore. And, I talked to some people, and apparently there was some stuff happening off the field. So I don't even want to address that. But you look at Warren and Lanier are perfect slot guys. I think they're going to slide into the slot position, and Weidman and Hooks are going to be kind of your outside guys. Well, I think Corvin could be the X factor of this game. Corbin has experience playing in multiple different wide receiving spots for Houston when he was there. So I want to see where Jackson State utilizes him and what he can bring to this offense. And I think Corbin, out of all the offensive transfers they got, was my favorite. He was an All-American in the AAC, and I think he has the most experience. And I also really like Wadman, but he's young, and I want to see how he develops in college. The unit for me who wins this matchup is going to have a huge advantage because I think both run games could struggle. And if FAMU can shut down the supposed strength of this offense, which is the wide receivers, then this game could get real interesting down the stretch. Now, for my official prediction, I had a real tough time for this game. I mean, when I was, prepping for this, I went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I don't think it's going to be a shootout like some people think. I think the strengths of these teams are on the defensive side of the ball. I think it's going to be a grind out, sloppy game early. I think with two quarterbacks that don't have a lot of college experience playing, as QB1 in terms of McKay, I think it could be sloppy early. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game early, and then we're going to see most of the scoring come in the second half. I just think the defenses are too good to allow just an absolute shootout this weekend in Miami. But for me, looking at, the matchups and the keys, I have a more belief that Jackson State can get their offense going than I have confidence in FAMU's ability to rush the ball. I think it's going to be close. I think it could go either way, and I wouldn't be surprised whichever way this game goes this weekend. I don't think either team is primed for a blowout. I have Jackson State this weekend in the Orange Blossom Classic in a close one, 27-21 over FAMU. I think both of these teams are so strong. They're going to be some of the favorites in the SWAC this year. It's just I have a little bit more faith in Jackson State's offense to go make plays against FAMU's defense than I do the other way. And I know that the FAMU fans are going to come for me, but I just think it's going to be a close game. I don't think either quarterback is going to play outstanding. I think it's going to be the playmakers and who on defense can make enough plays to stop the other team. And I just think that's Jackson State. I believe in their corners more. I think that front seven is a little bit better. And so I got 27-21 Jackson State this weekend. Guys, comment below your predictions. Comment below your thoughts on the game, man. Like this video, give it a thumbs up. And also make sure to subscribe if you're new here, man. We'd love to have y'all, and go check out any of our other week 1 previews. We've covered so many games, and we got more coming later today as well. And be back here Sunday. I will be dropping a recap Sunday afternoon to recap Monday morning. My bad. Monday morning. I forgot this game was on a Sunday. Monday morning, I'll be dropping my recap and also be live tweeting it on my Twitter as well. So, guys, make sure to subscribe, like this video. Everyone traveling to Miami, y'all be safe, man. Have a blast down there, and I will see y'all next week.